Welcome to The Personality Hire, the show where Riz is the resume, and today's guest has plenty of it. Adam Jacobs. Adam is a co-founder of The Iconic, the platform that essentially changed the way Australians shop online. Now he's focused on changing how we work as the co-founder of Hatch, an AI-powered jobs marketplace already helping more than 500,000 young Australians find work that actually fits who they are, which is exactly what this show is about. Let's welcome Adam to the show.
Hey Jodie, it's nice to be on the show.
Fantastic to have you here. Now Adam, I wanted to kick off because what I've read about you that I found really interesting is you're not a huge fan of the term entrepreneur. Rather, you've seen your career as a series of pursuits. So I wanted to ask you, looking back from fast fashion to building the future of work, what's been the biggest takeaway? Because you've built across two very, very different categories.
Yeah, I do find the word entrepreneur a little bit icky. I think that sometimes people think of being an entrepreneur as a good thing in and of itself. I just think it's a means to an end, and that end is solving a problem that you care about. And actually being an entrepreneur is not romantic at all. It's like hard and it's gritty and it's got so many highs and lows and you rarely know whether you're winning or not. And there are many other ways to solve problems. I guess this is just the way I've been doing it. So yeah, I probably think of myself more as someone who resonates with the problem I'm solving, and I'm just really passionate about it. And you're right, fashion and jobs are like on the face of it, two really different problems. I think for me, what links them together is that they are both about somebody's identity. You know, fashion is how we present ourselves to the world. Fashion is literally the boundary between our inner world and outer world. And The Iconic really aims to help people explore and discover their sense of personality, identity, self-expression in a more like seamless and easy and empowered way. And work is about identity too. You know, work is about how we contribute to the world around us. It's about what values we really care about and how we then put them into the world. And it's a lot about like the community we spend time with and the networks we make. And all of that is like building our sense of identity. And so, yeah, I suppose that's what links them. They have been, to your question, they've been two really different experiences for me. I mean, when we built The Iconic, there wasn't a strong online fashion retailer in Australia. So there was just like a lot of white space for us to do something different. And we knew Australian shoppers wanted it. Australian shoppers were buying from lots of overseas retailers like ASOS and Net-a-Porter and Boohoo, and we looked at that data and we said, okay, they probably want a local player, and we built it really fast. Whereas with Hatch, people have already been applying to jobs online. We just think that we're in this new era where the kind of information you need to know about somebody to know whether they're the right hire has changed. And so we're trying to build a new way for people to apply to jobs online. And that's less white space, and it's more reinvention, and more like a surgeon's knife cutting away at innovation, like piece by piece by piece. So it's a much more concerted, almost like overtime effort.
And speaking to that sort of concept of identity, Adam, I love that you're prioritizing who people actually are, not just job titles. So they have the opportunity to take transferable skills, put across their strengths, and actually play to those strengths, where it can be, hard to do on a traditional resume. Why do you feel that traditional CVs are no longer fit for purpose, particularly for early career talent, which makes up, a big bulk of what's happening online with Hatch?
Okay, so I think there's two answers to this question I can give. Like, one is the science answer, and the other one's maybe the more like common sense one. So let me start with the science one.
Yeah, go for it.
There's been a real change over the past like 10, 20 years in what a career looks like. If you went back to, say, the 1980s, the typical career would look like doing one or maybe two jobs over a period of about 40 years. And the half-life of a professional skill was around about 20 to 30 years. That means what you learnt at university, you were probably still using those exact same skills 10, 20, 30 years later. If you fast forward to today, the half-life of a professional skill is down to 5 years. So what you learn constantly changes and isn't in use even a couple of years later. You have to keep relearning all the way through your career. Also, it means that we have like 7, 8, 9, 10 different careers within our lifetime. And so we have this like far less linear, far more messy world of work that we're now in. And that puts a lot more emphasis on things that don't jump off the CV that you need to know about someone to know if you're hiring the right one. Their transferable skills, their culture fit, their values fit, their curiosities, their interests, whether they are going in the same direction as you want your company to go. I'd say that's the more scientific answer. The more like common sense answer is, for anybody who's ever made a hire, it's really clear what makes a great hire. And what makes a great hire is not how someone looks on paper. It's just not. I mean, I can't tell you how many people I hired at the Iconic who looked 10 out of 10 on paper, and then in reality they showed up in a really different way because the environment wasn't necessarily a fit for them. And the opposite is true too. I've hired lots of people who on paper you'd sort of question, is this the right person for the job? And then in reality they're a superstar because they just really fit the environment. And so what actually makes a difference in in reality when it comes to it is underneath the CV whether somebody as a human has the traits you're looking for. If this is a very analytical job, are they analytically minded? If this is about creating disruption in fashion, are they passionate about that? Do they care about it? Do they have the traits that are going to make them successful? And that's really what matters.
In light of that, how do you think young people can best position themselves for roles using, as you say, their strengths, their transferable skills, their personality, what they care about, what they're actually passionate about? Do you have any tips for how they best put that across?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there are some clear tips of how young people can better stand out. We're now in this age of AI slop when it comes to CVs and job applications. It's really easy to tailor a CV with a bit of AI to have just the right keywords and just the right sentences for what a job description's looking for. And as a result, all these CVs and applications are starting to look the same. It's very hard to tell one person apart from the next just based on their CVs because of all the sort of automation that's happening. And on top of that, employers are also starting to use a lot of automation to screen all these CVs for certain keywords. And so, the traditional world of really tightly craft the words on your CV because that's what's going to help you stand out isn't really happening anymore because everyone can do that so quickly with AI. What matters more now are ways that people can bring themselves to life off the paper and show examples of what they've done before or what they're passionate about. A little video can really help. A video of you talking about a project that you did. A portfolio can help. Let me show you some examples of what I've done. Even an audio recording, let me talk you through why I'm really excited about this job and why I'm putting forward my application. Ways that you can sort of show your energy, your personality, your research, your motivation beyond just the words on the page really make a big difference.
And what I love about the Hatch platform is that you're giving people that opportunity to win. The personality hires are just going to froth this platform because, as you say, there's the video opportunity there. They can upload a video of themselves. You're asking them what they care about, what their passion points are. What is some of the feedback you're getting from your Hatchies around the platform? Do they enjoy using it? Tell me, what is the feedback you're getting?
Yeah, I love that you call them Hatchies because we hear people use Hatch using that term themselves.
Hatchies.
We didn't even come up with it.
It makes sense.
It's nice. So what we hear from young Australians using Hatch is that in a typical job application process, they feel like they're treated as a number. They're sort of just lost in a sea of other applicants, and it's a very it's almost like a black hole. They just put their application into the ether. They rarely hear feedback. They put a lot of effort in, and they just don't know the outcome.
They're probably getting ghosted. I've had that so many times. It's so disheartening.
There's so much ghosting. I mean, the majority of people feel ghosted 70-80% of the time. It's rife. And so what we're doing on Hatch is we're creating a much more human or personal way to apply to a job where you're showing yourself and then you're applying to a real person, a hiring manager or a recruiter, and then you get feedback from them. And so what we often hear from people using Hatch is by being able to show more of myself, by being able to include a short video talking about why I'm excited to apply, or being able to share some of my values, or being able to show some examples of my past work, I no longer feel like I'm treated like a number. I now feel like I'm treated like a person, and I feel like I can show what's different about me and why I really care about this opportunity, and I feel like that's coming across to the person on the other side, and already we're forming a more human connection. And at the end of the day, you kind of join a job or leave a job mostly for your hiring manager, mostly for the person you're going to be working with. I'm sure we've all experienced this in our life, where we've had some changes in an org structure around us, and it's led us to like find a new person that we want to work with. And so that connection between the candidate and the actual manager they're going to be working with is really important. And you don't get a sense of that connection on a job board. You just feel like you're applying to like a machine. And on Hatch, we really want to bring that human connection to life.
And in the media, it's been referred to as Tinder for jobs. How do you feel about that?
I don't like it, actually.
That's what I wanted to ask you.
So we didn't, it was like a journalist who came up with that phrase, or an editor maybe. I think that actually, so I mean, there are some similarities to dating apps and job applications for sure. You know, like you're putting out a lot of applications or likes into the world, and you're hoping for the best. And I think what might be similar between Hatch and a dating app is that we are creating a richer profile of someone than just like words on a page, and you get to hear more about their values and their interests and see more of their personality. What's really different is that I haven't used dating apps for ages, but if you talk to people who use dating apps, like often what you'll hear is this feels like doom scrolling. Yeah, this sort of feels like I'm doing a lot of work trying to get through a lot of people to find like the needle in the haystack, and it's overwhelming, and honestly it's a little bit like disheartening. And is it ever going to lead somewhere at all? And I think that's not a feeling that we want people to have when they use Hatch. What we do is the work to help filter down the jobs for them, and we use a lot of data and information about somebody off their profile. We have quite sophisticated AI that really learns about someone at an individual level and looks at the thousands and thousands of jobs that are available all across the internet, including jobs on companies' websites that don't even hit job boards. So we look at all the jobs that are available across Australia for young people, and then we find the absolute best recommendations for that person based on their profile. And so it really helps them get to the right job faster. I think that's very different to a dating app where it's like a numbers game. Like we don't really want it to be a numbers game on Hatch. We want to help people get to quality connection faster.
As we were chatting earlier, the nature of the workplace is changing rapidly. And as a result, institutions, be that universities, are having to keep up as well. I know particularly with, the field of journalism, a lot of these institutions are scaling back or even completely cutting out journalistic studies, which is insane to me. How do you see universities sort of reacting to changes in the job market? Specifically, how ready for work are students now when they're leaving their studies and entering the workforce? Yeah,
it's a great question. I mean, without doubt, the advance of AI is the biggest shift that any of us is going to experience in our lifetime on all of the systems around us, like on education, on the world of work, on dating, on technology, social media, the whole thing. And the impact that AI is having on the workforce in terms of early careers is really interesting. What we're hearing from employers commonly is that they don't want a graduate to look like they used to. They want a graduate to have more capabilities and more skills, particularly AI-powered skills and capabilities, right from graduating. Like right from day one, when they walk into their very first job, they expect that person to be bringing with them some AI-enabled capabilities. And I think as a result, universities are needing to start to think a bit differently about how do we equip students to be very employable in this new AI world that we find ourselves in. And it's not enough to only have theoretical learning in classroom. You actually need students now to have like real world experiences. Like you need them to be out having different work experiences, paid work experiences, because if it's not paid, it's not a real job and you're not getting given real responsibilities. So paid work experiences, whether they can actually build applied skills when it comes to AI specifically, and then bring those skills into their graduate jobs from day one.
Do you have any concerns around students sort of not being fit for market if they're studying particular degrees? Are there any kind of red flags in that vein around sort of areas of study? Would you have any advice? I know this creates a lot of anxiety for young people. What's the perfect degree? What should I study? I myself did a Bachelor of Communication Studies. I made sure to go very broad, which has served me well, but I know it is a point of contention for a lot of young people. They don't know really where to start.
Yeah, it is hard to know. I mean, we've all been at that stage of life where you got no idea what you want to do with your life. For me, I studied a Bachelor of Arts and Commerce. My arts was like all philosophy. I really enjoyed it. And then my commerce was marketing and management, so also pretty broad. The piece of advice I would give here is to watch out for picking a degree just because you think it's super employable this year. The world that we're in is changing so fast that software engineering might be in demand today, but tomorrow actually might be less in demand because AI agents are doing a lot of software engineering, and creative skills become more important. And so I think it's less about trying to be like strategic in picking a degree that is employable, and I think it's more about just doing something you genuinely enjoy. That's the most important thing. If you're studying something that you have interest and curiosity in, you're going to lean into it more, and you're going to build more skills through it. And I guarantee those skills are going to be transferable in lots and lots of different directions. Even if it's like a very tightly vocational path. Before I was a entrepreneur, see, I hesitate when I say the word. Before I was an entrepreneur, I was in consulting at BCG and PwC. And so many people, particularly at BCG, came from very tight vocational paths, like surgeons or like scientists in like specific fields, neuroscientists, quite a few of them, lawyers who did like very specific law. And they decided, you know what, I want to do something different. And they have all these transferable skills that allow them to go into this whole other industry. I've seen that time and time again in my career. Also in the teams that I've built, particularly at The Iconic, I've seen so many people move into fields and domains that they didn't even know they could because their skills transfer. So my point is not to worry too much about the technical skills you're building because chances are they're transferable in lots of different ways, but to worry more about doing something that you're interested in and curious about. And when you follow that path, it'll open more doors for you. You'll meet more people, you'll put more energy in, you'll build your skills faster, and you'll find your way into your career.
And also I think young people now need to realize, as you've said perfectly, we're going to have 5, 6, 7, maybe even 8 careers along our lifetime. You're not going to make a crazy mistake if you get into a job. It's just going to offer you more clarity and information about where your strengths lie, what you really enjoy doing, right?
Yeah.
Talking to a lot of young people, it again creates a lot of anxiety. If I don't, spend 2 years at this career and then I need to spend a year here to get to where I want to go, and they're putting all this pressure on themselves. I mean, I know my boomer parents, made sure I got the degree, I had the safe job. Hey, I still can't afford to buy a house. So, you know what I mean? And I feel like Gen Z have looked at our generation, they're like, not today. They don't want to repeat the same mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, the analogy that I often think of is people talk about their career being like a ladder, and you need to figure out, where you want to be at the top of the ladder and then sort of reverse engineer all the rungs. And so what's the first rung I should be climbing onto, and then what's the next one, and be really strategic about it. And in reality, you do not have that level of control of your career. Like, that plan is never going to work out. I think that it's unrealistic to think that we can be long-term strategic and planned about our careers. I think it's much more realistic to acknowledge that our career is going to be a whole set of chapters. We don't know what the future chapters are going to be. Let's just worry about the chapter in front of us. And to your point about boomer parents, my parents are boomers too. I really remember this conversation I had with my dad. My dad was a partner at a law firm, so like very risk averse, like very traditional when thinking about careers. And by the way, I love him to death. So like, we're keeping it respectful. It's a respectful chat. Yeah. But point being that sort of like, of his generation, right? Like everybody was thinking that way of his generation. But when I called him and I said, hey, I'm thinking about leaving BCG, a global consulting firm, to start a technology company in e-commerce, his response was like, what are you talking about? Like, that is crazy. Like, you're literally about to go and do an MBA that this firm is paying for. They're like a globally respected firm. You've got a great career set up. Why would you throw it away? And at the time, I'd also transferred to the Copenhagen office and was loving living in Europe. And to start The Iconic, obviously had to move back to Australia. And he was like, why would you throw away that opportunity? And, I really had to sort of talk it through with him and say, hey, this might not work, but like, I want to give it a shot. Like, I just want to see where it goes. Like, it's something that's inside of me that's saying, you want to do this, and I want to play it out. And of course, like 1 year later, he was the proudest father in the world and telling all his friends about it. And he did say to me at one point, I understand now. Like, I understand now that you actually did see an opportunity that I didn't see, and you went with what felt right for you. And yeah, so I guess your parents give advice that is always worth listening to, but it doesn't mean that you can't make your own decisions.
See, guys, Adam's telling you to back yourself. I just relate so deeply to that. I hope my parents are watching this. See what can happen when you back yourself. So you have more than 600 employers currently on Hatch, and these are big names. Qantas, Westpac, Woolworths, Uber. A lot of opportunities for young people. What's the feedback you're getting from these companies around how the platform is working for them, what they're seeing with candidates?
Yeah, it's a great question. So employers are looking for something new in the market when it comes to hiring platforms, job platforms. You know, the status quo has been there for a while. The big incumbent job boards, they kind of came about around the late 90s, early thousands, the start of the internet era, when basically jobs in the newspaper were put online. Like, that's where job boards came from. And so if you talk to employers, they would say something really similar to what you would hear from a young person on a dating app. They would say, this is like really time consuming. I'm having to like scroll through so many different applications. It's really hard for me to tell them apart. And like, I'm just looking for the signal in the noise. Like, how do I find the person that's actually a fit for me without having to go through hundreds and hundreds of applications every time I'm hiring? And a lot of employers, particularly those in smaller businesses that don't have like internal recruitment teams, they're doing this in magic time. Like, they've got a day job, and then at night time, it's like on the couch, glass of wine, a stack of 100 applications, you know, and they're all CVs that look, you know, roughly the same. And so employers are really looking for a new approach to finding the right person. And what we hear from employers, particularly when it comes to early careers, is it's less about what someone studied, or it's less about, you know, what last company they may have had a job at. It's more about who are they as a person. You know, do they have the kind of underlying traits I'm looking for? Do they feel like the kind of person who I think is a really good fit for like my team, my culture, the skills I need? And they're getting that from Hatch. You know, on Hatch, they're able to like get that understanding of somebody, and so they're like so excited about the experience. I guess when we started Hatch, I was still at the Iconic full time, and we were sort of doing a lot of research in the background, both with young people, mostly uni students, and also with employers. And we deliberately wanted to create a platform that was like a win-win. Like, we didn't want to create a platform that was like good for one side and not for the other, which is kind of what a job board is, to be honest. Like, a job board is made for companies. It only cares about generating revenue for companies, and people, candidates, have a pretty like shitty experience, I don't know if I can say it, experience on job boards. Whereas we wanted to do something that was good for both. And I think helping someone show who they are as a person is better for candidates, because it helps them stand out and increase their chances of an interview and a job. And it's better for employers because it helps them get to the right person faster. It's a real win-win. We were talking about this a little earlier, Adam. Love your thoughts on Gen Z versus millennials, because I know these Gen Z kids, they really be cracking me up. I'm a millennial, as I've said. But I feel like Gen Z, they do get a bit of slack for just their approach to work, their attitude to work, right? Because, you know, they're picking purpose over pay. They're questioning whether loyalty actually pays off, and they're job hopping a lot, which I'm personally a fan of. What do you think young workers are really asking now, and how is that reshaping workplaces? So we do research every year around like what particularly Gen Z Australians are looking for at work. And it's really interesting research because it gets down to the bottom of like what somebody's psychological needs or like emotional needs are driving their choices, and it's sort of like resulting in like their job decisions. What we've heard this year in particular is a real search for stability from Gen Z Australians, that they're looking for stability in their career. And stability comes through a few different ways. It comes through growth opportunities, like jobs that allow them to grow and develop, particularly AI skills. Second would be financial stability. A third would be like balance in life, in terms of, you know, I don't want to have to sacrifice health or relationships. I want to have a side hustle on the side for like a creative pursuit. You know all about side hustles, Jodie. And
Love a side hustle.
That drive for stability, first of all, it's totally reasonable because we're in an unstable world right now. Like, there's geopolitical movements, there's AI disruption, there's a cost of living crisis. But that drive for stability is no different to what previous generations have felt, right? Like, I mean, millennials, Gen X, like all people really want stability in their career, and they want to be able to grow. The difference is how Gen Z are acting upon it. Millennials would say, to get stability, I need to work hard. Millennials typically had a 2-step plan to life. And I actually think Mel from Canva, Mel, the CEO of Canva, is probably one of the best examples of this. Step 1, work my absolute butt off and make something valuable. Step 2, reprioritize towards giving back to the world in a way that I care about, and chill out. 2-step plan. Gen Z is saying, I don't want the 2-step plan. I want a 1-step plan. And the 1-step plan is have balance from the get-go whilst having a career that generates financial stability for me. Gen Z is basically saying, I'm not going to sacrifice for 20 years my health and my relationships and other parts of my life outside of work just so I can work my butt off to create something of value. I want balance from the start, lifestyle balance, side hustles from the start. But in the middle of it, I want like a secure, stable job that allows me to grow both financially and also grow professionally. And they're acting on it. So if a Gen Z, on average, of course, everyone's different, but if a Gen Z Australian is in a job where they feel like they're not getting that deal, like they're not getting balance, they're not being able to grow, they're not working towards financial stability, they're going to bounce and they're going to go somewhere else where they think, is a better deal for them. It's almost like the deals changed. Like the deal that the millennial was up for with an employer was, I will give you all of my life as long as I get to that point where I've built something of value and I can then reprioritize towards impact. And a Gen Z is saying, no, the deal I want is like balance from the get-go. I think, and this is where I'm going to bring this a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
I think this is really interesting. I think that if this is a generational shift that we're seeing, it's going to redefine aspects of capitalism. And this will be a little bit esoteric, but like traditionally capitalism is about building value in very conventional buckets. It's like building financial wealth. It's building reputational wealth. It's building like assets, like property, like Australia has an obsession with property. Like I'm going to build as much of a property empire as I can. Gen Z is saying the kind of buckets of value I want to build are a little bit different now. I want to build value in my health bucket. I mean, we have a 22-year-old in our team. I think she's 22, maybe 23, who is so focused on her health in a way that like I never even knew was possible until I was like 35. Really there's a lot more consciousness of young Australians today around what it means to live a healthy lifestyle from like a young age. So there's this health bucket, there's a relationship bucket. Like I want to be spending time with like my friends and my loved ones. There's a self-development bucket. Like I want to be able to have time for reading and self-improvement. And all of these buckets are seen as like tangible value that people want to build. And that's going to have an impact on the system of like our economy, right? Like if so many people are valuing a little less financial wealth and valuing a little more this, I don't know what to call it, but like lifestyle or balance wealth, it'll change what we start solving for as a society and how society is going to look overall. And personally, I'm kind of excited for that change. Like I think that's a change that feels scary for an employer, because it's like, hang on, so all of my employees are going to start acting differently or prioritizing different things, and what's that mean for my company and how we succeed? So it's a bit scary for an employer, but I think it's really exciting for an individual. Like if we think about each of our lives and living in a world where the expectation is a little less work your butt off 24 hours a day and a little more like have balance for all the things you care about from the get-go, like that's a pretty exciting world to be part of.
I love how you've put that, Adam, because I feel like Gen Z get this rap of, not having a work ethic. But as you've said, I really feel like they are going to change the face of workplaces as we know it through these new attitudes. Whereas, millennials like me, it's almost like sacrifice was glamorized to us. And now Gen Z have seen, the end result of us millennials, and they're like, no, I want to do better than that, because they don't want to wind up like us, burnt out, frustrated and underpaid.
Totally. And to be fair, like Gen Z also work hard. Like they've got great work. I mean, some of the Gen Zs in our team are like so impressive in terms of their work ethic and their focus. I just think they're better at like putting that in a world of balance. They're better at like having boundaries in their life that are like actually helpful, like help them like meet deadlines, but then still have time on the weekend to be with friends. I'm actually kind of impressed by this next generation that's coming through. And again, it's a generalization and not everybody's, the same, but as a trend, it's a really interesting trend we're seeing.
Speaking of the future of work, can we just touch base on AI really quick? Because such an interesting space. We've had a lot of conversations on this podcast around AI. Hatch as a platform is AI powered. You actually started testing it before COVID, I believe. But there still seems to be a lot of fear around AI and automation. What opportunities do you actually see AI opening up for early career talent if they use it well?
Yeah, we actually hear from employers often that they are really looking for young people to use AI to have impact faster. And I think that's the opportunity. 10 years ago, it might have taken you 5 years or 10 years to get 3, 4, 5 rungs up in the organization. Today, you might get there in 2 or 3 years. Or at least you might be doing work at a level like way more senior than you are because you're using AI tooling. I think the opportunity for people to grow faster, have impact faster, take on more responsibility earlier is all very real, by using more AI tooling. We see it a lot in our team. I hear it a lot from the employers that use Hatch, that the young people that are coming out of uni and are in the first couple of their years with a mindset that says, I'm not going to be scared of AI or threatened by AI, but instead I'm going to use it to grow faster. They're the ones that are really doing well in their career and cutting through. We also do a bit of research on this, which is really interesting. And from our research, 90% of Gen Z Australians do not feel threatened by AI in their career. And the vast majority of them feel optimistic about being able to grow faster in their career because they can apply sort of AI-enabled impact. And so I think there's a really positive story there. I think there's sort of the watch point is AI will change what jobs are available for young people. Some jobs will be redefined. Some jobs will be not there anymore. New jobs will emerge, and that's going to create some churn. And we sort of have to be able to manage through all that churn and make sure people are finding the jobs that are right for them.
So Adam, you've given us a lot to think about there. Thank you so much for your time. If you're out there watching this, you're feeling stuck, you're ready to job hunt, for the love of God, jump onto Hatch. You can access the platform at hatch.team. I was on there this morning. There's so many opportunities. Foxtel, Bunnings, IBM. I saw a job for L'Oreal. Doesn't matter what you're into, what your strengths are. Check it out. Send this episode to a mate if they're feeling stuck. Could spark something. Check out Hatch online as well. They're across all socials, hatch.au. If you want to connect with me, I'm at Personality Podcast. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Jodie. It's been a real pleasure being here, and I'd love to come back soon.